Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB Zach Brown. Joining with me, as always, is former 410 Sprint Car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. A lot to go over, an ass-kicking that happened in Bristol all the way to Sprint Car Racing and NHRA that we were able to get trackside at the Carolina Nationals qualifying night, and previewing a lot of stuff heading into this week as we start winding down the racing season. So without further ado, let's talk about Bristol and the absolute old-fashioned ass whooping that we witnessed in the NASCAR Cup Series. Kyle Larson led all but 38 laps in the race, the most all-time from any Hendrick driver leading in a race. There's not really much to go. He was just beyond faster than anybody else. The biggest weird thing is that the tires didn't really wear off at all in that race. They just had a normal tire wear as opposed to whatever happened in the spring. It was a complete opposite of what happened.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know if it was just because it was a night race and temperatures were cooler, or setups got better and they didn't wear the tires. But, there's two opinions on the thing. If you're a Kyle Larson fan like us, you loved the race. If you're a fan of anybody else, the race completely sucked. I mean, it was terrible, boring. But people do quickly forget, you go back 70s and 80s, it was not unusual for people to win by 1-2 laps. So, they forget DW used to win every freaking race at Bristol for a number of years and things like that. So, it's definitely, NASCAR has a problem on short tracks with these cars. They're just not good. They need to figure out something. I don't know if more horsepower is the answer. My theory is if it has more horsepower, they're probably going to drive worse, and that might have just made Kyle Larson lap up to 5th place instead of 10th place. So who knows what the tire fall off, I think, is what's key. They need more cautions. The only time anybody could run with Larson was for about 20, 30 laps. Christopher Bell could hang with him, and then once the run got on, he just absolutely just drove away.
Well, probably the biggest news that came out of the race was now the point standings for NASCAR and the drivers that moved on to the round of 12 and the ones that were eliminated. So Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Harrison Burton. Obviously, we figured Harrison Burton was, and I actually called Truex not making it. I kind of expected him to have bad luck. I don't know what it is that he pissed off the racing gods at Bristol, but something happened. And Daniel Suarez is the one that makes it. Ran 31st to 35th the entire night. I think finished 31st, and ends up making it because, well, I guess he had enough of a cushion over the other drivers, and they just had most unfortunate nights as they possibly could. Probably my fault on Brad Keselowski, but lost on that. But not exactly shocked. I kind of expected when going into this, that's probably who would be left with out of the 4. I expected Denny to race his way in on points. He actually had a really solid night, and now
his car was good.
Yep, and now you're rolling in. Larson has the points lead going into the round of 12 by a significant amount of points, even having Tyler Reddick, who's the regular season points champion. He's like 3rd or something in it, but Larson's built up all those points in this round.
39. He's like 39 points above the cutoff right now, so it's almost a whole race.
For him, because the round of 12 is tricky. You start off with a traditional 1.5-mile track, which we'll preview here in a minute, Kansas, and then you go to 2 wild card races. You have Talladega and you have the Roval at Charlotte. Anything can happen is what we've seen in the past at those races. So you have to build a points cushion if you can't get a win here at Kansas. Can't have bad luck at Kansas because you can't rely on Talladega, and you don't know what's going to happen at the Roval.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I saw a little bit of Denny Hamlin's podcast, and he was actually talking about the quality of racing. He's like, a lot of the guys that were transferred in, they were just kind of holding their own. It's like they weren't even really trying to race. Denny's like, once I got up into a safe spot, he's like, I wasn't going to try to push it and bring out the caution, cause a caution, be the caution.
Kind of playing a defensive mindset here.
So that could be some of the the issue with the poor race. People were saying they weren't passing. I mean, Larson didn't seem to have a whole lot of trouble.
Didn't need to.
Bubba Wallace came, after the last restart, he passed a bunch of cars and got up in there and had a good run.
There was just nobody that was going. Not even any Hendrick teammates were going to catch Larson. They just had that thing was handling so perfectly, and it didn't matter where it was. And it was really the bottom. I was noticing how well it was sticking to the bottom, hanging on that line, never budging, never getting loose. I mean it was a great race, a great setup that Cliff had for Larson, and he was just on a Saturday night drive.
Yeah, that's for sure. Didn't even seem like he broke a sweat.
Well, you got your Xfinity pick right, and
I did get that, Cole Custer.
Yep, I wasn't too far off with Chandler Smith, and the Truck Series, the same guy that's won back-to-back playoff races now in the Truck Series, Lane Riggs. He didn't re-dislocate his shoulder celebrating this victory, but he pretty much whipped everybody at Bristol too. The best race was probably the Xfinity race. It was overall had the best, the most passing. The most drama, if you include whatever's happening on Junior's radio. He couldn't even talk for the first 70 laps, and he's funny as hell if you listen to his in-car. He's like, well, I guess I don't need to pay my spotter now. So, and
after the race, he was all excited and running, and I don't know what the hell he said when they were talking to him a couple of times. So he was pretty excited. Had a good car. His car was fast. I think he's one that make sure he's not causing any issues in the.
Yeah, he doesn't want to wreck. He doesn't want to ruin anybody's points night. He just kind of wants to be there, have some fun with the guys.
Yeah, it's a wonder he almost runs in those point races just because of the countdown races just because of that. But
well, let's get into our power rankings heading into Kansas, and I can probably guarantee we have the same number one. And the rest of it's more or less the same for me. So starting at number 5, I actually put in Denny Hamlin, had a very good run, raced his way into the round of 12. Number 4, I put in Chase Elliott, a great runner-up finish and a great run altogether at Bristol heading into the round of 12. Number 3, I kept Ryan Blaney. Everybody said avoid him, still had a solid finish at the end. Tyler Reddick still number 2, still fast car, heading to Kansas, one of the favorites to win Kansas. And Kyle Larson, number 1, probably the favorite to win Kansas behind, as well as Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick, I would assume. So no questions there. So go ahead with yours.
We're pretty close. So at 5, I had Christopher Bell. Like I said, he was the only one that could even sniff Larson there for quite a while. Number 4, I have Chase Elliott. Number 3, I have Ryan Blaney. And I actually moved Denny Hamlin up to number 2. That was championship quality racing, knowing where he needed to be and run good enough to make it to the next round. Points reset, so it was, you get in by 1, it doesn't really matter. And number 1, I had him there last week going in because I knew it was a good track for him, so I got Larson at number 1. Right now, it looks like Larson and Hamlin are probably the class of the field, I would say. Week in, week out, minus Larson's crashes, which are maybe a slight issue for him.
Like we were saying, so we're going to preview Kansas right here. The mile and a half traditional track, and what we've seen is that in the past, this is where the closest finish in NASCAR history was earlier this year between Chris Buescher and Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson winning by 1/1000th of a second, even if it was that much. Getting the win. And it's going to be a little bit different. It's an afternoon race as opposed to the night race where it finished under the lights at Kansas before. So the track will likely be a lot slicker. You've always seen a great battle between Larson and Denny Hamlin at this race. And I expect pretty much the Hendrick versus Joe Gibbs in this one. That's what I'm
getting ready to say. I think you're going to see the Hendricks and Gibbs show.
/2311, you could throw them in there.
Yeah, we're counting. I think the Toyotas are going to be good there.
Yeah, and this is Larson. This is Larson's best mile and a half, I think, statistically. Of course, they're all like really good, so it's hard to exactly pinpoint which one's the best one. But this is where the drivers, you can't rely on Talladega or the Roval. And well, of course, if you are the one that can really only race Talladega or the Roval, then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
what
you're
do
the
I?
one that's relying on that.
Yeah, but it's Keselowski's not in the playoffs anymore, so now he he's not really worried about anything. So you might see him throw some stuff at Kansas. Chris Buescher, he ran second. He wants to avenge that loss from earlier this year. You can see a lot of those non-playoff drivers. Bubba Wallace, I expect to be up and running there as well.
Yeah.
And it's a very good track for him. I think this is where he hooked Larson and crashed. Or that might have been Vegas. I'm not sure. Same type of track. Let's get into our fantasy lineups heading into Kansas, and then we'll give our picks for Kansas. So pretty much what we were saying, it's Chevy versus Toyota in this one, and that's really what I've got in my fantasy lineup. And I do actually have one Ford. I figure I'd use this guy as well. So giving off my fantasy lineups, giving my starters, I have Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, and I actually put a non-playoff driver. It is a Joe Gibbs car. I have Martin Truex Jr. And in my garage, I have a non-playoff driver, another Toyota 2311, Bubba Wallace. And the featured matchups, this is tough. It's Larson versus Hamlin. That's probably what it's going to come down to for the win. I do have Kyle Larson just based on momentum, based on how much is clicking with that crew, besides getting into wrecks. Even when they have some misfortune, they are able to bounce back and have solid races. So I got Kyle Larson over Denny Hamlin. Christopher Bell versus William Byron. I'm actually going to give the edge to Christopher Bell. He races real well at these 1.5 miles. He also does really well. He did really well at Bristol. He's got some momentum coming up. And Chase Elliott versus Tyler Reddick. I'm going to give the edge to Tyler Reddick. I think 2311 is going to be very fast. Ryan Blaney versus Joey Logano. I've got Ryan Blaney. Got him in my lineup. Got to put him in there. So go ahead with your lineup.
We're close. We got some differences. So my 5 starters, I have Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell. And like you, in my garage, I have Bubba Wallace. And our lineups are a little bit different. So I have Denny Hamlin over Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell over William Byron, Chase Elliott over Tyler Reddick, and Ryan Blaney over Joey Logano.
And the hot picks this week by DraftKings, Denny Hamlin's a hot pick. I think this is a copy and paste from last week, basically. Hot picks Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is the favorite to win this race.
Once again, they didn't put him as the first hot
This
pick,
is quite literally a copy and paste from Bristol. So. Avoid Ryan Blaney once again. I don't trust that. It says avoid Chris Buescher. He just finished second there before.
Yeah, I know. That seems a little.
And then it says sleepers, Bubba Wallace. I don't even think he's a sleeper. I think he's a good pick to have. He'll be in contention for it, so that's why he's in my garage and I have to keep up with it. And
he's been running good lately. Actually, it's if he'd have made the playoffs, he could have been advancing.
He'd be right up there.
Yeah, I think so.
And then you got drivers that are banking on Talladega, like Cindric. He's going to be in contention to win Talladega. And then you have the Roval, Cindric again. You got Daniel Suarez. So I mean, this is a wild card right now. And how about Alex Bowman had the most points out of the round of 16 out of all the playoff drivers. So they were talking crap that he's going to end up leaving Hendrick, and he said, "Let me just show you how I can do that." And he's doing great right now, the best he's raced all year. And this is where you need to race your best. So who knows what's about to happen? Shoot, you might end up seeing all 4 Hendricks in the freaking final. I don't think you will, but you could.
I don't think so either. But it seems like this happens with Bowman every year. Like he goes through a stretch where he's not running real good, and then the rumors start flying that he may be out and they should put somebody else in. And all of a sudden he goes and knocks off a bunch of good finishes, a win here and there. And
there's nobody you can put in right now at this point that I would want to have replacing him. Like we want to see Corey Day get into the Cup Series eventually, but he's not ready for that. He actually had a solid run in the Truck Series, kept it clean, didn't wreck. He finished top 20.
And Xfinity. Yeah, I think he got 7th or 9th in the trucks, and then like 19th in Xfinity. Ran all the laps.
Yeah, that's
2 asphalt races in a day, and I mean he's a sprint car driver. Yeah,
You mean
he's
ARCA?
running.
You mean the ARCA race that he raced instead of Xfinity?
Yeah, Arca and
Yeah. But let's give our first four out, though. When you look at this list of the 12 now, who are the next four that you likely will see be eliminated from this round? And you got to take it into account that Talladega and the Roval are wild cards.
yeah. I gotta get the list of the top 12. Hang on, I didn't have that prepared.
All right. Well, I've got the list in front of me, and I'll just go down it for people to hear. I've got Kyle. It's Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, Briscoe.
I got you. Okay, I got it here.
So my next four out, I'm going to say Chase Briscoe. I think his luck's finally run out. I don't think Austin Cindric's going to end up winning Talladega or the Roval, so I'm going to say he's out. As well, I'm also going to say Daniel Suarez is out. And here is who I think is actually going to end up being out. I think it's going to be Joey Logano's out. These next few tracks, not the best for Joey, and I have to pick somebody to be out, and I'm going to say Joey's out right now.
Okay, I'd agree with most of that. I'm going to go out just to be bold here. I'm going to say Chase Elliott doesn't make it out. I think Joey has he's a good restrictor plate racer or whatever the hell you call it now. I think the Roval will be Joey's worst track. I think he can go good here. I think he'll go good at Talladega. Like I said, you got to pick somebody. It takes one race having a problem. I just think between those guys, Joey and Chase are close enough in points that you might have one little slip up and you're toast.
And the crazy thing is, we all have Bowman moving on.
Yeah, I think his momentum has just been really good. I think he can easily win Talladega. I think can be fast at those tracks.
Shoot, he won the he's been running well on road courses. He can win the road.
Yeah, he won the street courses, and so this is a mismatch like that, and he could easily be up there. I think his confidence is pretty high.
All right, let's give our picks for Kansas, the race-winning picks. So you have all three series once again here. So the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. This is a Truck final race of their first round, and I believe it's the second race of the Xfinity, if I'm not mistaken, for their playoff.
Yeah, I think so.
And obviously the first race of the round of 12 for the Cup Series. So who is your pick for the NASCAR Truck Series?
So for the trucks, I'm going to go with a Ford driver. I got Ben Rhodes this week.
I was pretty not stupid at picking Friesen last week. I'm glad he made me look like I'm not a total bozo because he was running up front all day. But I'm just going to go with one of the favorites, one of the fastest ones it's been all year. I've got Christian Eckes. The Xfinity Series,
that one.
Yeah, Xfinity Series. Who is your pick?
So I'm going to go. I don't know if this is really a long shot on this one or not, but I got Jesse Love and Richard Childress' car.
I have Jesse Love too. He's been racing real well at the mile and a half tracks, and I think the Chevys will be pretty good here at Kansas in the Xfinity Series. All right, Cup Series. Who's your pick?
So I'm going to go with Bubba Wallace this week on this one.
All right.
I said he's been running good. It's
non-playoff driver that would shake some things up. Who's Mom's pick?
Mom's pick is Kyle Larson this week. She says he's going to double up.
Okay. Well, as long as we don't pick him, we can't jinx him. I don't have Larson, and I'm actually going with Bubba Wallace's teammate Tyler Reddick to get the win at Kansas. All right, let's go over a quick NHRA that happened at the Carolina Nationals at zMax. We were there on Saturday with the qualifying, where you can actually check the trackside roof video that I made on top of the suites at zMax. That was a pretty cool scene for that. It was a really good crowd, and it was hot on Saturday, and the track was still hot and slick on Sunday, and there were a lot of they had to battle the cars. There was a lot of tires spinning, and it was
track temps was definitely up.
But the racing was great because it's like who could pedal it the best. So
yeah,
the Probably the most surprising one is, well, because Gage Herrera's motorcycle didn't want to shift, he ended up losing. Matt Smith wins the motorcycles, and he actually has the points lead in the Pro Stock motorcycle now. And
Yeah,
in the
you'd like to say it's surprising, but I mean, he is a multi-time
yeah,
champ
he's
in the
one of the best
motorcycle,
ones.
so it's
Yeah. And shout out to Gianna Evaristo. She was in the semifinal round, just got beat out by Matt Smith. He just had a faster motorcycle. I don't know. They have pretty much the same equipment, but I don't know exactly what's going on there. But
yeah,
she made the
normally they're
semi.
tuned the
She had a really
same.
good run. So hats off to her. The Pro Stock final was really exciting. Dallas Glenn shoots out, and he had to like steer it back into the middle because it went to the left, and he had to steer. But I'm like, oh, he lost, and then all of a sudden he freaking wins over Aaron Stanfield. So those two kind of separating themselves from the
It
field
sure
right now. It
seems that
seems
way.
like, and so that's definitely shaking up to be a good championship run in the Pro Stocks. Funny car, Austin Prock dominating, getting his 7th win of the year. It was another good drag race between he and Matt Hagan. And in the Top Fuel, Antron is having one hell of a year right now. He's fast. That thing is just bad fast. So
Yeah, he's been peaking at the right time
yes,
for sure.
and they
But
are.
like I said, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if anyone has never been to a drag race, go check it out. Especially if you get there on Saturday, it's qualifying, it's not elimination day, so people aren't as stressed. And and everybody wants to see the top guys. I get that, but if you go see some of the guys that you may not know, like we went through the Pro Stock motorcycle pits, and there were some guys signing the cards and autographs, and
Yeah.
they let our Chandler, my grandson, your son, sit on the motorcycle. We got pictures with the guys. The next day we're watching him on TV. He's like, "Hey, I saw that motorcycle." All of
Yeah.
a sudden he got an instant fan out of that. So that was the fan interaction for most of those guys. Like I said, go to some of the guys that maybe aren't the top guys, and they'll spend time. They'll talk to you. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. A lot of those drivers, they're not really doing a whole lot, especially on Saturdays. Just kind of waiting around to make a run
Yep.
and see what their cars are doing. So it was really cool. NHRA fan interactions is probably the best in all of motorsports because it's included in your ticket. And that's what NASCAR should do. It costs these drivers nothing to just say hey to these kids. It's big. It's really for the kids. I can understand some drunk bastards ruining it for everybody, because oh my god, I'm just not like this is a lot of it's really about the kids, especially when I bring Chandler to the races and you just see like his eyes, they just simply wave at him or just give him a high five or something. That goes a long way for the kids, and they end up having a fan for life because
Yeah,
of that
'cause
one
he
small
liked going
interaction.
collecting their cards and having them
Yeah,
sign it. That was pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah, and again, it costs these drivers nothing to just have take a picture and say hey to the kids. It costs them nothing,
Yeah.
and it's great for fan interaction. I loved it. It's one thing that NHRA does the best job at. If they could actually figure out how to work a website in the 21st century, that would be nice too. Um, we got to kind of meet Tony Stewart. We went through the line real quick. He signed my Indianapolis Motor Speedway hat. I was like, listen, I hate to just bother you because I knew you're trying to leave, but do you mind just signing this? Because, I mean, it's kind of cool. And I'm like, not like you have anything going on or whatever. He's like, no, you're good. He's like, I'll sign it real quick. I
Yeah,
usually
that's
don't
pretty
care.
awesome.
I don't usually care about asking for drivers' autographs or whatever because I'm like sometimes, because especially when they're about to leave, I'm like, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I'm like, well, I'm already
Yeah.
here. He already signed something for Chandler's. Like, well, I guess I might as well just go do something, try to get something signed. But
But Matt Hagan's a big son bitch, though.
he should be sponsored by some sort of protein powder. That's what he should be sponsored by. Like, good Lord, like yoked. I mean,
Especially sitting next to Leah, pregnant, got a little tiny bump, and there's
he's
Matt
got no
Hagan.
neck. He looks
you
like
would not think he's a race car driver.
no, he looks like the
Football
thing from
player,
Fantastic
wrestler, or
Four.
something.
He looks like the thing from Fantastic Four. All right. Well, NHRA is heading to Gateway this week. And I believe they race in another 2 weeks, and they have a little bit off, and they race Halloween weekend. Um, Gateway will probably be a little bit different weather than we've had here in North Carolina, starting to cool off in the Midwest a little bit more. There are some tropical systems coming up throughout the entire country right now, so you might have a fresh green track. And I think you'll have a track that's going to end up having a lot more grip than you saw at Carolina.
Yeah, I would think so. I'm gonna assume the temperatures are probably down and humidity is probably down compared to what it was in Charlotte, because that was for. I mean, it's not unusual for end of September being that hot, but it was boiling outside there.
It
So
was almost 90 in the direct sun, and the track temperature had to be about
yeah, there
110,
was not a
120.
cloud in the sky, so it was in direct sun for sure.
No, I mean it was nice for racing, better than raining out like we've had. But
Yeah, that's for sure.
I kind of expect some cloud coverage over this. I think it'll be overcast skies just based on what I've been seeing on the weather that's happening in the entire country. Could make for really good racing, really fast times, and some shakeups in the countdown in NHRA. I don't really. So, do you know exactly how it's all broken down? How they do all this? Like, is there another round that happens, or they just go all the way
No,
through?
it's
Or
just they have the last 10 races, and that's
okay, you just have the
it's
10.
10. So that's they don't reset or anything. I do think the last race is 1.5 points, whichever the last race is this year.
Yeah.
Pomona maybe,
Well,
but don't hold me to that one.
well the points leader for Top Fuel is Antron Brown by 53 points, but you can make that up pretty quickly in a Top Fuel race. Um, if I can get to the next series.
Yeah, Austin Proc's got a huge lead.
Shocker.
Yeah, that car's just fast. I mean, it just
I don't know why
does not have problems.
nothing's popping up here. Oh, there we go. There, like I said, somebody made this in 5th grade. Yeah, Austin Pratt, he's got a 129-point cushion, which is close to almost a whole entire race lead.
Yeah, it could very
I
well
mean,
be.
how impressive is that? He kind of just went in as a fill-in driver this year, and he's going to end up winning the championship.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
said this at the beginning. I said he's
he's
going
a
to win the
better
freaking
funny car
championship.
driver than he was Top Fuel driver. Of course, like I
Yeah.
said, he's probably got the best mechanic there, his dad. So
Pro Stock Dallas Glenn has a slight edge over Aaron Stanfield, but that's kind of the two that it's starting to stretch out to. They've been very solid lately. And again, Matt Smith is the points leader over Gage Herrera. So it's interesting now. It's 5 races left. 5, 7, 5 or 6, 4 or 5 races left, something like that.
something like that.
Numbers are like kicking my ass. Oh, it's raining outside. All right. Well, let's give our picks for NHRA at Gateway. All 4 series. So motorcycle, who is your pick? This is the person I'm
So
not picking.
I'm going to go against the status quo, and I'm going to go with Matt Smith, point leader on motorcycles.
Well, I'm going against it as well. I'm going with the teammate of Gage Herrera, Richard Gadsden.
Okay.
He made it
I
to the
think I
finals.
don't
He
think
was fast.
I don't think he's ever had a win. So first win, that'd be cool to see.
He's just been fast. He's been
Yeah.
solid. Pro Stock, who is your pick?
So I'm going to stay with one of the hot hands. So I'm going to go with AA Ron Stanfield.
I'm going with he was in the semifinal, had a good run. I expect him to have some decent runs coming up. He's 4th in the points, needs to make some good runs. I got Greg Anderson.
Okay.
We saw him past us.
Yep.
You would never think
that's Larson's friend.
Yep. Funny car. Who's your pick?
Austin Proc.
Hard to go against him, but I am going against him. I'm going who he just beat, Matt Hagan.
Okay.
And Top Fuel.
So this one, I'm going to go on a little bit of a limb here on this one. This guy can be hot or cold. So I got Clay Milliken this week.
Well, she was the top qualifier at Charlotte. Had some misfortune, I think in the semifinals, but I've got Brittany Force for this one. All right, well, that does for NHRA. Let's head into dirt racing, and then we wrap up this week's episode. So go over the oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Eldora. Yeah, there we go. Eldora was a slick ass track last week.
Yeah, it's the 4 Crowns. So they had a lot of race cars on there. You have the midgets, the non-wing sprints, USAC Silver Crown, and the wing sprints. But just because it was slick did not necessarily mean it was bad race, and that
No, it
makes
was
the
good.
tracks
You
just
have
much wider to, like you could, if you were good, you could get around the bottom.
well,
It's way shorter. It's a 3/8 mile on the bottom and a half mile around the top. So
Justin Peck came out of nowhere, ended up winning night one at Eldora, and finishing second was Rico. So speaking of midget, sorry Rico, but anyways, he actually ended up winning Saturday night at Eldora. He's been on a hot streak right now. Such a hot streak that he actually has overtaken the runner-up position in the point standings over Tyler Courtney behind Brad Sweet. Brad Sweet's got a 270 point cushion or whatever, so he's got it in the bag. But Rico's making a strong end of the season finish here, and a lot of big races coming up between Outlaws and High Limits. So a lot of money to be made over the next couple weeks.
yeah, he's been the last month. He's been pretty well hitting bank here lately. He won, the big races and won Port, won California, won Eldora. That's a heck of a month.
Well, they are racing at Florence Speedway this Saturday, and then they go to Atomic on Tuesday for their midweek money series. Atomic's going to be a great show with the high limit they usually are.
Yeah,
Florence,
it's a little mini Eldora, high bank, quarter. I think it's a quarter mile. It's a big quarter mile.
yeah, Atomic's going to be a exciting race, but let's preview Florence. I don't think like Outlaws or All Stars have ever been there. Not that I found. I found there's like basics 410 sprint car
They just had
local
the
drivers.
fast 410s or whatever.
It looks kind of shaped similar-ish to a Port Royal type track is what I've seen.
Yeah, my notes would say looks to me more like Lincoln. I'm going to say
Okay.
it's a three. I want to say it's a 3/8 mile. It's not as big as Port Royal for sure.
Yeah,
It
and
looks like just watching those guys run. It's normally a late model track, so it's really hard to say. The race I saw was pretty slick, small cushion.
these
I think if you're good on the bottom, I think you could
well,
really.
it's going to be one of the it's going to be one of those like we talked about with Eldora. Either you're on the top line at touching the wall, or you are hugging the bottom, and that's the only two lanes that's going to make you faster.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. You're going to be bouncing her off.
But Rico was able to run it on the bottom when he needed to at Eldora, so that probably another key to winning this weekend. So let's give our pick for Florence on Saturday night.
So I'm going to go with the Aussie, James McFadden.
Okay, the
Drinking from the shoe.
Toyotas are definitely especially Kofoid is.
Yeah, I don't pick him very often, so I was like, you know what? I have not picked him, so sorry, man. If you have trouble, it's my fault.
Wait, is Rico running a Toyota now? Is he one of the Toyota TRD cars?
I didn't think so, but it could be.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure because if if that is the case, that means that they've really figured out coming to the end of the year this whole TRD thing in sprint car racing. Anyways, a lot of my train of thought. My pick this weekend, I think, is a good track that would suit him well. He needs to have a good run coming up. Tyler Courtney for Florence. Atomic. This is going to be a fun race. It usually is. Who's your pick for Atomic?
So I don't know if he's racing or not, but my pick is Kyle Larson. If he's not racing, I'm going to go with his brother-in-law, Brad Sweet.
Well, I'm going with the guy that's the next up and coming, Kyle Larson, Corey Day. I think he'll put on a hell of a show at Atomic because it's a track. The shit out of it there for sure. It's a track that you can run the shit out of it and just have it a hell of a run. It's going to be exciting race. Atomic's going to be good. It's
been a long time since I've been there. It's probably got the nicest surface in.
Well, I expect our one guest that we had on last year, Nate Reister, to be trying to race against the high limit as well. That's his local track, so definitely get to see him, see if he can make the show. Again, a lot of money to be made in that race. So
yeah, for sure.
Outlaws this weekend. They are in Ohio before they head to the National Open at Williams Grove. So Wayne County Speedway and Sharon. And speaking of Sharon, Dave Blaney just won last week for the Lou Blaney Memorial, and he announced his retirement from racing.
Yeah, it's actually surprising. Not surprising he won. It's surprising he announced his retirement. especially being we got an outlaw show coming this week. I think he'd be a good one to run. Although
That means Dale's probably going to run this one.
It could very well be. And
But
those two get around that track. Wouldn't be a shocker to see a Blaney win this race. I didn't pick him, but wouldn't surprise me.
I wish they would just put Ryan in a 410 and just see what he can do. Wayne County, that's the track that I feel like we've gone over before, but I'm not really very familiar with.
Yeah, that's one we used to just call it Orville. So it's in Orville, Ohio. It's a normal Ohio track, dry, slick, dusty, poor lighting, etc.
But good racing, probably.
Oh yeah, it could be, if you can see it, it could be very good racing. Now I shit on the Ohio tracks the last time, and I forget which series was running there, and the track was it was Attica. It was beautiful. So
they have really improved Attica. I will say that they have significantly improved Attica. But all right, well, let's give our pick for Wayne County. Who do you got for the World of Outlaws heading there?
So this one's going to make Mom mad, but Ohio guy, got to go with Sheldon Haudenschild for one of these. So I'm going to pick him for Friday night at the Buckeye Brawl.
Well, I've got the points leader, David Gravel. He's been racing. He's been coming. We were saying about it. He's been kind of falling off, whatever his falling off is, and then he wins last.
Falling off. He's been running third and fourth.
Yeah, so expect him. He's going to be in contention regardless. But that's my pick for Wayne County. Who's your pick for Sharon?
So I got your philosophy there. I got Gravel for Sharon.
Well, Mom's really going to be mad this weekend. For Sharon, I've got Sheldon Haudenschild. So we're doubling up on Sheldon this weekend for both races. So there is a 95% chance he ends up wrecking both of them. Sorry, Sheldon. Well, that wraps it up for this week. Let us know what you guys think. Who do you think your next four is going to be out of the NASCAR playoffs? That's for the Cup Series. You can put who you think's going to be out in Truck Series and Xfinity, but I'm really focusing on the Cup Series. That's where the big money is, and everybody's really paying attention to. A lot of interesting races in the round of 12. Whoever gets in the round of 8, especially if it's Larson or Denny Hamlin, you got 1.5 mile tracks the entire way, virtually. Then you have Martinsville, but you got 2.5 mile tracks that could really set people apart in the round of 8. So we'll get to that when it comes to that. But follow on all social media platforms, wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you follow that. And we'll be posting our fantasy stuff onto the lineups, and I'll be posting my picks for this week as well via DraftKings. See which ones I don't piss me off too much, it seems, and we'll see if I can get 3 out of 4 once again, because that seems to be my run lately with it. But until next week, we will see you guys then.
All right, bye everybody.